Faceoff on Fox Soul. Challengers Quan LX and Big Angry Adams. Ready to go blow by blow on those hot topics. Faceoff on Fox Soul starts right now. In this round, here's Quan LX.
Charles, there's been a lot of talk about one of America's greatest bishops, Bishop T.D. Jakes. And there have been allegations, innuendo, some have been very slanderous about what he has been doing or what he may or may have not done attending P. Diddy's parties, in one particular his birthday party and other parties he may have attended. There have been personal friends of Mr. Combs who suggested Bishop Jakes has done some nefarious things that are unbecoming of a bishop. And one thing the Bible teaches us, God hates slander, he hates gossip, and he hates those who spread lies. On Christmas Day, Bishop Jakes said that he would not waste such a sacred day to address such filth and such lies. He says, I know who I am. I respect that because we live in a nation today, Charles, to where it appears that everybody is looking for the filth, the slanderous allegations, and will spread lies through social media as though they're the facts. They're insinuating that he's been having gay relationships at these parties with not one shred of evidence. And that's why the Bible teaches that God will spit out the slanderous gossiper out of his mouth.
It's amazing how you can steward stuff to achieve whatever goal that you have. And here, very clearly, your goal is to try to protect Bishop Jakes' image. Now, when you say slander, you have people that are alleging they were eyewitnesses to, and I don't think this is nefarious conduct. I think it's just conduct that can't be reconciled with his rhetoric from the pulpit. But you have people that claim they're eyewitnesses to both homosexual and heterosexual acts at these sex parties for Puffy, P. Diddy, Sean Combs, and that are alleging that he was involved. You weren't there. I wasn't there. We don't know what the truth is, but we can't write them off as being defamatory when we don't know who is telling the truth. But what I do know, because you referred to the Bible, the Bible is very clear, especially the New Testament, that it is more difficult for a rich man to get into heaven. It'd be easier for a camel to go through an eye of the needle. And the truth is that whenever I see these pastors who have incredibly monetized the gospel,
the prosperity gospel.
Right. It has always bothered me from someone that has read, the Bible cover to cover on 3 occasions in my life. I think you cannot, this promise, give me money, give my church money, and God will give you more. I don't find that. I find talking about tithing, but I don't find any support for the prosperity doctrine in the Bible. And I most certainly don't find any support for pastors, in fact, to the contrary, the pulling down of the temples and other things, for pastors flying around in private jets, for pastors living in mega mansions, for pastors going to parties with rappers, right? This is not the life that is described by those that follow Jesus. So I don't know. You can call it slander, hurt dog gonna holler. I think that we need to wait and see how this plays out.
What my grandmother said was that when you throw a rock into a pack of dogs, the only one hollers is the one that gets hit. Yeah. But in this case, the alleged eyewitnesses have produced no proof whatsoever.
Well, what could they produce?
And so my position on this is produce some proof before we just say your alleged eyewitness is the mouth of the gospel of facts. I don't buy that. People lie every day, all day on people all the time.
But could they be telling the truth?
But I will say this.
Could they be telling the truth?
I will say this. If they are telling the truth and Bishop Jakes is guilty of this, well, then he should come forth before the world and tell the world the truth. No human being is without spot or blemish. Christ said, any man or woman that reaches the depths of hell can also scale the heights of heaven. You're not a perfect man, Bishop Jakes. None of us are. But if this is true, then you should repent, brother, and get yourself together to be reformed spiritually, because obviously there's a sickness and a disease there if you are guilty. But if he's not guilty, then all of those who are spreading those lies should be held accountable and should face a penalty also, because trust me, a good name is worth its weight in gold, the most honorable Elijah Muhammad said. To slander a man's name without proof and without facts, or woman's name, is wrong. And in this case, I'm very suspicious that they're accusing him of things with not one shred of evidence to back it up.
Well, but that's I mean, when you have these private parties, these things that the super rich and the super famous do that regular Americans aren't part of, that are devoid of any morality, this isn't somewhere. This is some eyes wide shut nonsense. There aren't people walking around with phones and cameras. And I will also suggest to you why I think we should hold off on calling it defamatory is you and I, we grew up in the 80s. We all remember that preacher down there in Baton Rouge crying.
Jimmy Swaggart.
Yeah, Jimmy Swaggart crying to after deny, then cry, right? And there was no reason for Bishop Jakes to address this, but he chose to in kind of a soft, backhanded manner. You know, I don't want to address this on this holy day, but I'm going to address it. You know, when you hear people seeking money, right? When people come out and say, oh, this happened, I'm suing, give me money, I think you've got to look at it with a far closer eye than just some witnesses who don't have a dog in the hunt.
But I don't think nobody's suing Bishop
Right,
Jakes
that's what
in
I'm
this.
saying. They don't have.
That's why I don't trust it.
Well, I trust it more. So what's the benefit to them?
Okay, but then
what's
remember,
the benefit to them for lying?
Puffy settled a lawsuit based on allegations like this.
Right.
I haven't seen one lawsuit against Bishop Jakes, nor has he settled a lawsuit according to what I understand and what I've read.
That he raped
now,
anyone.
if he settled something, that's a different ballgame. Because remember, there were a couple of bishops who did settle because they were guilty of the behavior.
But that's the thing. No one's alleging he raped anyone or sexually assaulted anyone. They're just saying that you can't reconcile his rhetoric in the pulpit.
That he's a hypocrite.
And his discussions about sex
It would make him a
and
hypocrite.
homosexuality
It would make him a hypocrite.
with going to these orgies. That, hey, I don't have any doubt. You know, I know a bunch of hip-hop artists, so do
It's
you.
one thing-
I don't have any doubt that P. Diddy is throwing big
Let me say
sex
this.
orgies.
I'm gonna be honest with
I
you,
don't know
Charles.
if they're bisexual
Let
or
me tell you
homosexual,
something, brother.
but I'm sure there are
I
orgies
used to
going
travel
on.
all across the country with Scarface and the Ghetto Boys.
Okay.
And there was women doing all kind of things. But them brothers will tell you, Willie D, Scarface, and may Allah rest Bushwick Bill in peace, no matter what woman came around me or came after me, not one time did I disrespect my faith or my belief, and nor did they ever see me compromise it. So I'm saying because he went to a party does not mean he participated in indecent acts.
But hold on, not to compliment you, you know, because we're supposed to hate each other and argue all the time. But the truth is, you've never sought to monetize your faith, right? You're a Muslim,
No, I
you
don't
follow
believe
the
in
nation of Islam, and I don't see you in a private jet. You have a job as a media consultant that you do very well. It is lucrative, and it's allowed you to pay for things for your family. But you're not out there pulpit trying to make money. I'm very suspicious of Pastor Jakes. I think he probably did
I
it.
need some proof before I condemn my brother.
In this round, here's Charles Big Angry Adams.
You know, Quanell, back in October, a crazy man caused $81,000 worth of damage to the esteemed Bergdorf Goodman department store. I actually bought some sunglasses for my big fat coconut of a head there that fit great, right there south of Central Park. Shattered stuff, attacked people, got 15 days in jail. Then in November, the very same guy went up to a South Asian man and screamed at him that he was working for white people and he was going to kill him. Attacked him, got charged with some very serious crimes, pled down to a misdemeanor, 15 days, fully suspended by the judge. Now, I'll give credit to the district attorney's office. They said, hey, this guy's crazy, we need to put him in a mental health institution. Didn't happen. Back out on the streets. 17 arrests total in the last few years. Grand Central Station, Christmas. A family of 4 eating in the food concourse. 14 and 16-year-old girls, man walks up to them, attacks them, stabs both of them. And he stabs them because he says, well, he wants to see all white people die on Christmas Day. We have all this rhetoric in the world right now, and there is no shortage of talk about the dangers of white supremacy and the evils of white supremacy, which I will agree, they're evil, right? Any racist is evil, but we have embraced this new bigotry, Quanell, where people casually talk about the evils of whiteness, the evil of Western society, and that the white people brought evil all around the world. and it's become very commonplace. In fact, we go as far as to say that white people today, you say this all the time, owe a debt for stuff that happened historically that neither they did nor their ancestors did, but because they share a complexion with the people that did horrible stuff, we have a debt today. That sort of language has motivated so many hate crimes over the last few years against white people, and guess what the media does? The media doesn't care, the media doesn't talk about it, and people like this monster get a slap on the wrist, but then when white people do horrible stuff, it's the front headline, it's all. These news stories don't even mention his race.
I still believe
that white people are evil. I get it.
White people today still are responsible for helping to pay that debt that is owed to black people in this nation. And it's not because you share a complexion of skin color. It's because you share and you reap the benefits of what those who share
I grew up with a single mom in a crappy apartment in a trailer. What benefits?
Ago.
What
Let
benefits?
me explain. Financially, white people in America received a great leg up because black people worked for 360 years for free in this nation, and white people never had to do that. White people received a great financial benefit in this country because Jim Crow legislation, because holistically white people benefited in this country from slavery.
Well, the 500,000 from the north that died trying to end slavery, they didn't.
Oh, that's a lie. Even Nikki Haley wouldn't admit to that. No. The Civil War was not about slavery.
Well, Jim Crow,
the Civil War was about taxes.
Right? That was the Jim Crow.
That was about taxes, not slavery.
Yeah, you can say that, but it doesn't make it true.
Sick. This man was sick and insane.
But he's hearing rhetoric from people like you that are saying white people are evil, whiteness is evil.
And insane. The system is failing the common man and woman in this case.
Is it okay to say whiteness is evil? You think it's okay?
That's a joke. That's a lie.
Okay, you say it all the time. Now it's a joke?
No, I do not.
Okay, do you think it's okay for all the academics, all the news media?
White supremacy is evil. Okay. But white skin color is not.
Is black supremacy evil?
Black supremacy is evil also.
Okay.
Because let me tell you something.
This is all new stuff today. All right, Quadell, you grew.
Not only is black supremacy evil, black inferiority is just as evil. Because let me say this, God don't give a damn about your color based on supremacy. Your skin color don't make you supreme. It is your conduct, your behavior, and your thought process that determines the character man or woman that you really are.
Well, that sounds like Dr. King.
This man is sick, and he should have been in jail or in a mental health hospital. But let me say this. This man committed a hate crime. He should be charged with a hate crime. The first time he did to the Asian man, he should have been charged with a hate crime. Should not have been played down. Perhaps had he been charged appropriately and dealt with appropriately, he would have not been on the streets to harm and kill somebody else. This man is mentally insane and sick. And the system every day in America is failing the mentally ill and the mentally sick in this nation.
No, the system is failing victims, right? In the wake of the horror atrocity of George Floyd's murder, okay, we decided police reform was to not prosecute violent people, to not prosecute violent offenders. And who has suffered the most as a result of the abandonment of victims?
Those areas are the highest in crime.
Poor black people.
Those areas are the highest in crime.
It's a masquerade for the government not to do their damn job. But men like this guy, clearly the city is being failed, especially New York with Alvin Bragg, absolutely failed by this, hey, see no evil, hear no evil, see no crime, hear no crime, do nothing about crime attitude, right? That he announced on day one in his memo has continued. We have to get away from being okay with condemning white people holistically. And that's the truth. And I know you don't want to bet it, but white people are just people joined by a complexion. We need equality, not this nonsense of new oppression and revenge.
White folks have always had equality.
But the Irish did.
They've never had to fight for equality. And let me say this, and if the Irish didn't have equality, it was other white folks robbing it from them.
Exactly.
Because it sure wasn't black people.
Well, let's go to...
And even Jews who came to this country didn't have equality. It was other white folks robbing it from them.
Well, let's go
even
to
every
New Orleans,
race that came to America, including white women who suffered
let's talk about colorism in America.
Was other white folks giving it to them, not us.
But see, again, if you go to parts of Africa, if you go to parts of Mexico is incredibly bigoted by light-skinned Hispanic people versus mestizos.
And why?
Right? It's all driven.
White supremacy.
No, everyone's going to find a reason to hate.
Colonized Mexico
gonna
they
find
brought
a
in
reason
white
to hate,
supremacy.
and what we should
the same
do
thing in
is
Rwanda,
we should stop
when you had the
being
genocide in
okay
Rwanda,
with race
it's because
hatred.
the Europeans set up a white caste color
White
system.
bigotry just as bad as racism.
White
We need to
supremacy is the
stop
root
it.
of bigotry.
In this round, here's Quanell X.
Charles, there's a story coming out of Canada where the government of Canada just made it a rule, pretty much a law, that says that they're going to give away free tampons and menstrual pads in men's restroom. They are crazy as hell. They have lost their mind. Why would you give menstrual pads and tampons in a men's restroom? We as men do not have a cycle. The taxpayers of Canada should be angry as hell that we hand out tampons and menstrual pads in men's restrooms. If they want to hand out tampons and menstrual pads in female restrooms in Canada, I have no problem with that. I would applaud them. Okay, great idea, good way to go. But what man needs to go into a man's restroom and need a damn menstrual pad?
Well, I think you know the answer to that question.
No, hell no, I don't.
Now,
You
yes,
tell me.
you do. We
Tell
live
me.
in this post-gender, post-binary world where we frequently have people that were born into one sex who have, the prevailing argument is they were born into one sex but a different gender, who identify and present differently and want to use the restrooms of a sex that they weren't born into, but they now identify as, right? I think the former conservative senator Linda Froome from Canada made a better point, right? Well, when menstruation was just for women, we had to buy our own, but now it includes men, although the government's going to pay
Because
for
we've
it.
gone crazy.
Right. But, I mean, the question is not whether it's in the men's bathroom or the women's bathroom. It's whether the government should be paying for it at all. I frankly don't care. And I think you only care because you're all worked up about the gender. But let me ask you a question. We talked about Grand Central Station just in the last segment. Last time I was in Grand Central Station, I went in there, right? I went up to the urinal, pulled out that massive thing, and was using the restroom. And while I was walking,
you're gonna lie to the public.
A very
you're gonna
short,
lie to the public.
very
when
clearly.
you and I
hold
both
on,
know there's
hold
two
on.
things you white men don't have. That's some behind and a rod.
Okay.
Now quit lying.
Okay. Anyway,
Run around
so
with a
I'm in
damn
there,
pencil half
and a
sharpened.
person clearly born as a woman, not making much effort into appearing as a man, other than kind of short hair, wearing like culottes and a very crunchy hippie looking, walks in, looks at me, looks at my shaft, and then walks around me and goes to a stall and drops trowel. Now, it didn't bother me. You know, I don't care if
She was a
anyone's
female?
like, well, but presenting kind of as a male. You know, there's no rules anymore. So then you know, people, but on the converse, I see how we have like in women's locker rooms.
I
where
don't
children
want
are.
a man-
Hey, let's talk about Canada. I want to stay on Canada. Hold on. In Canada, you just had a 50-something-year-old person born as a man with a penis enter repeated teenage girls swim competitions using a quirk in the law that says there's no rules anymore.
And ain't no daddy whoop his ass.
And went in.
And ain't no daddy put them hands on him.
Used the changing
Well, I tell
rooms
you what.
with their penis.
Couldn't have been my daughter.
That 14, 15,
Couldn't have been
7,
my
and
daughter.
8-year-old girls were using.
Couldn't have been my
And
daughter.
the police said, well, the law allows this.
Well, I tell you
That's
what.
the insanity.
We wouldn't have
That
allowed
there's
it.
No,
Just because the law make it right, don't make it morally
Okay.
right. If you a 50-something-year-old man, I bet not catch your behind in the bathroom with my daughter. We gonna have a big problem.
But that's where the line should be drawn, right? It is when you trample other people's feelings of safety or feelings of freedom. And I don't think many of us men care if there are people born women in our locker rooms or our spaces.
No, men
But
don't
women,
care about that.
Right,
If a woman
right.
want to come in
But-
into the men's locker room, I don't think men have
Okay,
a problem like
but
that.
if-
Unless she
so
ugly as hell.
you really should,
But if she's a beautiful,
but you really
fine
shouldn't have
woman,
any
I
issue
don't
with
think
this
there'll be no
tampon
big
thing. It's
issue.
just you spreading your homophobia.
What do you
But
mean?
what we need
I
to
welcome
draw
the women to the men's locker room.
But
if they
hold
wanna
on.
come.
We need to draw the
Only not
line
ugly.
with common sense and pragmatism. And the thing is, by saying, hey, people born with penises with testosterone shouldn't be playing in women's sports. 50-year-olds shouldn't be entering teenage.
Look,
50-year-olds with penises shouldn't be
No,
entering
the
teenage sports.
taxpayers
That
should
is
not
pragmatic.
be paying for tampons
Oh,
and
come on.
menstrual pads in the men's
you
restroom.
are okay with the
That's
taxpayers paying
foolishness.
for all kinds
That's
of crap.
foolishness.
You're only harping
That's
on this
foolishness.
because it's
Look, let me say this. Let me say this.
non-binary, trans, and gay people.
If you need a tampon
Yeah.
or a menstrual pad, go to the women's restroom.
Okay.
Because guess what? There may be a woman in there who can loan you a tampon or loan you a menstrual pad.
Maybe
but
we should.
if you a woman and you need a menstrual pad, don't take your behind into a man's restroom. That's not the place where you need to be.
Okay, well, now all restrooms are going gender neutral, right? If you go to California, everything's gender neutral. And you know who loses?
But it should not be for children.
You know who loses?
Shouldn't be for
they're
adolescents.
usually one stall.
Not for adolescents.
But you know who loses on gender neutral bathrooms? Women with vaginas that have to sit down, because us men pee all over the damn seat, right?
That's true.
And it's really crazy that we can't say, hey, here's restrooms for people with penises. Here's restrooms for people with vaginas.
That's the way it's supposed to be.
I don't care. And if you don't feel uncomfortable in either of those, here's a third restroom that's just for anybody that wants to go there. But it's the same thing with sports.
But let me say this.
Yeah.
I'm going to tell you straight up.
Well, you just don't like trans
No,
people.
I'm being real with you, brother. You want to be trans, that's your business.
Right.
But don't you dare go in a female's restroom with children and little girls. I got a problem with that. No.
Okay. Well, so if
Hell no. Let me be standing outside and a man walk his behind, right behind my door.
How about?
No, partner, you ain't going in.
Hold on. But how about
one of y'all finna come out.
How about somebody that's had the full surgery? Everything's the same. It's been cut off and reworked.
Well, they gonna use the restroom.
Exactly. Right. My issue is.
Yeah, you got the full surgery. You're real. Right. You got full surgery. You're a woman now.
Is these people that don't do anything except put on a little makeup and maybe grow their hair in a little weird way, but are still fully intact.
No, but what about the ones who put the makeup on, the eyeshadow on, and do their hair real nice like a female, and then walk around with a damn beard?
Well, I mean, that would be my issue.
That's crazy as hell.
Like, if you still,
and you go into the women's restroom.
If you still have the penis, I don't think it should be dongling around little kids or even other women.
I completely agree.
It's like the swimmer from the University of Pennsylvania, Leah Thomas. There was all kind of, women were bullied into silence on that. And apparently she walked around just with her manhood, because it's still a penis, in full display,
so we're gonna start giving out pregnancy tests, right?
Making women uncomfortable.
So in men's restroom, we can start giving out pregnancy tests in men's restrooms next, right?
I mean, if it serves a purpose.
Get the hell out of here.
Okay. Well,
can't no man get pregnant.
You're okay with the government handing all kind of checks out. You're okay with all kind of government checks.
Can't no
but if
man
this
get
is
pregnant.
a government spending a little money to make sure that everybody has tampons.
A man can't get pregnant, Charles.
Okay.
So you don't need a tampon either.
Okay. You're 50 what?
Now in prison.
52 years old.
Now in prison.
You got to evolve.
Now in prison.
You got to evolve.
They do have men to buy tampons from the commissary department in men's prison.
It's that's probably used for a different reason.
Sure is. There's some serious leaking going on, I'm sure.
Man,
but anyway, look, I'm against that, brother. You should not be selling or giving away menstrual pads or tampons in the men's restroom.
Why do you
That's
care?
too far.
Why do you care?
Because the taxpayers are paying for it, and let the taxpayers decide if they want to pay for that.
If we were talking about Canada, we should be talking
let
about...
the voters decide if they want to pay for that.
We should be talking about Justin Trudeau clamping down and harding free speech, taking away access to guns, and being an overall despotic tyrant. We shouldn't care about a tampon machine that's probably going to be dusty and not going to be damn used in federal building.
Sounds like he may need a tampon the way you're talking about him.
Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for joining us. The disturbing incident at Grand Central Station, I think, is driven by the cultural acceptance of academics and people in the mainstream media of saying whiteness is evil, whiteness is bad, and then rejoinder when there's a pushback and saying, oh, well, I don't mean white people, I just mean the race or the complexion. Having an immutable characteristic, whether it is being white or black or ethnic or your religion or your family status or your orientation, should never be a reason to hate someone, and we've all got to start pushing back on all kind of hatred, right? If someone had a bad experience with an African American and they use that bad experience or the victimization to justify hating all other African Americans, we agree that is repugnant, disgusting racism, right? When we should start looking at all types of bigotry, no matter who it's directed, as something that we, as a civilized, educated people, don't want to accept. And it's always been my philosophy, hate individually, love holistically.
Ladies and gentlemen, I just want to say this to you. When you hear European people say, love holistically, hate individually, that is such a wonderful utopia idea that I hope and pray we can achieve in America one day. But we have not gotten there yet. And what we as African Americans have to understand, What we want is justice. Hate crimes are hate crimes. No, a black person commit a hate crime, they should be punished according to the full extent of the law and dealt with appropriately. But I have a problem, brothers and sisters, when people tell us that we should forgive and forget, and they tell no other race that. When we call for reparations, for justice for us, that's not injustice, that's not racism, that is absolute justice. When you see the hate crime this man committed, he should be punished. Yes, he should be. Bishop Jakes, in my opinion, is not guilty until we have some actual facts. Without actual facts, we should not slander or destroy or kill that man's reputation, because a good name is worth its weight in gold, the most honorable Elijah Muhammad teaches us. Let that brother live his life and let him be productive. But if you are guilty of that, Bishop Jakes, come before the people with a repenting spirit and let the scripture of the Bible be your basis and your thesis for redemption. Brothers and sisters, let us all be not so quick to slander each other's name based on allegations and social media innuendos.
That's it for the Face-Off on Fox Soul. We'll catch you next time.